Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Mortgage Punk Show. And listen, this is a very pivotal episode. So I'm going to be talking about something very near and dear to my heart today, and something very exciting that I've been waiting for 3.5 years to roll out. And so we're going to talk about that subject today. This is the official launch day. We launched a post earlier this afternoon. It's the official launch day of our American Dream home buying conference. So listen, when I launched the Mortgage Punk brand 3.5 years ago, it was my goal. If any of you are still scratching your head on what this whole crazy brand is all about and where the whole idea came from, the original intention was to turn it into a conference platform and start educating, not just educating in general, but like making it stupid, sick, rad, awesome, amazing to be educated on buying a home and on owning stuff and like building wealth and investing your money and all these different subject matters. And so it's been 3.5 years ago when we launched the brand. And so we are finally on the horizon of launching the first conference, which is coming up Saturday, April 25th. You got to mark it on your calendar. Go to mortgagepunklive.com. You can buy tickets. They're literally available for sale right now. We're pre-selling them. So it's kind of that you can get the early bird special. So we're going to talk about that today. We're launching the American Dream Home Buying Conference here's the main purpose. Ultimately, to reignite excitement about the American dream. And recapture the heart of a newer generation of homeowners that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s. And a lot of them don't own homes. A lot of them wonder if they can own a home, if it's even possible, if it's attainable, you name it. So we're just going to be talking about that. So this episode is all about the American dream of home ownership and all about this crazy conference that we are launching Saturday, April 25th. The goal is to make it exciting to learn about something that's super important, because here's the question. So why does the American dream need to be reignited? Well, let me ask you this question. Which would benefit your life and our country more? If you're rich or if you're broke? Just think about that question for a minute and answer that. Are you better off, more wealthy, or more broke? You think that's going to help you more? You think a nation full of a bunch of broke Americans who have nothing to show for, nothing they own, nothing to their name is going to make things better? I would start by asking that question back. Why does the American dream need to be reignited? Because one of the things that has made us one of the strongest nations, one of the most prosperous nations that has ever existed in all of world history, is the ability for average, everyday Americans to better themselves and to build and accumulate wealth and then pass that down for generations to like your kids and then your kids' kids, which would be your grandkids, and then your great-grandchildren, and on and on and on. Like, that's a big deal. Any group of people that can better themselves in that way will create the strongest front, that really we could achieve and attain as a society. So I would start by really asking that question. And I think that the reason that the American dream needs to be reignited ultimately is because I think there's just a list and a litany of just like bad education, really. That's why I'm launching a conference on education, because I feel like we're missing the education component of like personal finance and like doing some simple basic things in society, like buying a house, getting a career, getting into a job, saving some money, buying a house. So this episode is definitely not going to be about interest rates, okay? I'm not going to be talking about interest rates. I'm not going to be talking about mortgage products, not going to be talking about the mortgage process. We are talking about the official American Dream Home Buying Conference. I think we need it. I think we're living at a moment in our nation's history where we need to be not only reminded about these great things, but we need to re-educate and almost really just educate, period. I think the reason that there's a lot of discouragement out there when it comes to owning a home and when it comes to things like home ownership, I think that home ownership's become very transactional. So I think that the relationship element of making a big purchase like that has been lost just within the industry. I meet a lot of people every day that come to me and apply for a home loan, and sometimes they've been to another bank, and it amazes me oftentimes how much that these other banks they won't. I don't know if it's just that they won't, or just that the way the system is rigged, they're just too busy, and it's just one transaction after another. So no one really has time to sit down and provide some extra education for first time home buyers, or even like home buyers making another move. I mean, I know a lot of home buyers right now are homeowners that bought a house 10 years ago, and the market's changed and the industry's changed. And so getting a home loan today, going through the process of buying a home today could look very different than what someone experienced 10 years ago. And there's just not a lot of educational options out there. I don't feel for home ownership. So I think home ownership's become very transactional. There's not much relationship in the mix, and therefore not much education, or not much really walking people through a process. I think that banks have become cold and mechanical. Again, I don't know if that's intentional or it's just the amount of people that come through the door and want to see if they can buy and own a home has created that kind of cold and mechanical feel. But I think it's there. I think that there's some banks in town that I know, they've kind of sort of changed their lobby up a little bit. It feels more comfortable. You don't walk into like these serious people like behind a counter that make you feel like you just walked into the Matrix or something like that, and then like they're like, or like a courtroom, hey, I'm here to apply for a loan. I feel like you're a judge on the other side of that counter. And so I've seen some banks make some really cool changes to their lobbies to make it more comfortable. And I think that's a really good thing. I think that's those banks trying to attack this problem and trying to make changes, because I think they know that banks feel very cold, mechanical, threatening to people. I think there's a lot of fear-based media. So I think, it's hard to trust what you see on the internet. It's hard to trust what you see on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok when you're scrolling through, especially with the AI revolution already here. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm scrolling through TikTok and I don't even know whether to believe what I'm seeing. I don't know if it's AI generated. I don't know if it's from a legitimate source. So sometimes it can be super hard to believe what you're hearing. Like I've seen clips on Facebook. I think I saw one just last night, and I stopped because it looked like an official news announcement, like from a major news media outlet. But then the more I started watching it and listening to it, the more I started to second guess the whole thing. And then by the time they gave their pitch, I finally realized, okay, this is a totally sales, driven and created ad, and they made a news anchor in it to look like, it was a real legitimate announcement. So anyhow, it's just, if it's hard for me, I'm sure it's hard for you to even know what to believe out there in the world of media when it comes to home ownership. I know there's positive talk, but I feel like I hear a lot more negative things about home ownership. And this is something I guess I would challenge anyone with out there. There's always going to be challenges and something negative to look for in this world and in this life. So I think that you can make whatever you want of it. I mean, you can either like let yourself be completely overwhelmed and immersed with fear. I think that the media outlets can like play on that as, a business strategy to try to drive their ratings, which obviously drives their profits. You can do whatever you want with bad stuff, but bad stuff's happened. You know what? We go back 50 years ago, there was bad stuff happening. 20 years ago, there was bad stuff happening. 100 years ago, there was bad stuff happening. Somehow, Americans have seemed to own homes all along the way. So there's always just going to be something bad happening. So you can fix your mind on that bad, or you can just do something about it. Like, okay, it might be hard to buy a house for some people, or it might be hard to own a home in one of the coastal states where real estate prices have gone off the charts. Okay, so are we just going to sit and talk negative about it, get on the news and talk negative, or are we going to attack the problem and find a solution? Because from my experience as Americans, and we're talking about the American Dream Home Buying Conference, I think we're the kind of people that don't let problems bury us. I think we're the kind of people that have always been known for finding a way around, a way through, a way to overcome, a way to win despite all opposition. So I think the media doesn't help. But you know what? If you're watching that and you're discouraged, my encouragement to you would be, you know what? Screw the negative talk, and let's find a way around it. Find a way to work around it and find a solution. I do want to stop for a minute, take a quick sponsorship break, because I want to thank Keeley Roofing, specifically Daniel Keeley. He's the owner of Keeley Roofing and Construction here in Wichita, Kansas. And today's episode is brought to you by Keeley Roofing and Construction. And listen, your roof is a very important part of protecting you in your home, especially here in Kansas where storms aren't optional. So Daniel and his team, they're known for being honest, responsive, and extremely professional. I love those guys. I just constantly hear positive reviews about everything they touch. They run a really good business. So if you've got storm damage on your roof, if you have an insurance claim that you need to go after, or if you need to replace a roof, they will definitely take super good care of you. They'll roll out the red carpet. They will react and get to you quickly and help you solve your problems. So Daniel and Hunter, I want to thank you guys for all of your support behind the Mortgage Punk Show. If you want to reach Keeley Roofing, just call their number. It's on Google, and ask for Hunter. And he's my homie, and he can help you out. And guess what? Keeley Roofing is giving away a brand new roof at the American Dream Conference. That's another reason you need to go to mortgagepunklive.com, buy a ticket, because we are giving away some massive door prizes for the conference. So Daniel, thanks once again for all your support and all your help, man. I appreciate you a lot. Okay, so let's get back to some of the other reasons I think the American Dream needs to be rekindled. I think that people get obsessed on rate. Interest rates have gone up over the past few years, and that talk can get in the air and create some negativity or create some fear or, worry. Now, I would say that there's probably some legitimate buyers out there who would say, Chris, the interest rate's a real thing, because if it was lower, I could afford the payment. But unfortunately, with rates at 7% or 6% where they're at now, I can't afford the payment. If rates were at 3 and 4, I could probably buy the house. So I know there's some legitimacy to the interest rate topic, but there can also be some fear and negativity around it, because there's some options out there. There are options to buy your interest rate down. There are builders in other markets right now that are still offering the kind of interest rates that we saw a few years ago, just by offering some special finance incentives. So there's definitely a way to work around or through that obstacle. But I do think it has kind of put a wet blanket on approaching home ownership. I think people believe in some respects they're behind. Chris, maybe I'm in my 40s. Can I even start to begin to save to own a home? Or maybe I'm in my 50s, or I'm just too late in the game. I might as well just stick with rent and rent the rest of my life. I don't think there's ever a bad time for you to build wealth for yourself. I think if you're 60 years old, I think if you're 75 years old and you're in the fourth quarter of the game of life, you can still put that money in your own pocket. For whatever time you have left, you can put it in your pocket and you can hand that down to whoever's next in line in your family. So I don't think you're ever too old to buy a home. I helped someone out earlier this year that was, I believe, approaching 70 and buying their first home. So don't think it's ever too late. Don't be discouraged. Just see if you qualify. And if you got a little bit of money saved up, it's easier now to buy a home than ever before. So I don't think you're ever too old to buy a home. I don't think you're ever too old to build and create wealth for you and your family that you're going to leave behind. I think that'd be a blessing, and I think you should get started right now. One of the other reasons, here's another one. First-time buyers feeling stupid or intimidated. They don't say that to me, but the things that they say to me send that same message to me that, they don't really know where to start. Nobody has really taught them about this. They feel intimidated. They got to go to a bank. Remember I was talking about the banks that have changed the lobbies to be more comfortable? Good move, but still, people are still intimidated. At the end of the day, you're walking to a bank institution. They got all the money, and it can be super intimidating. And you know what I think will fix the intimidation? Education. Just being well educated and knowing what you're doing before you even walk into the bank could remove that intimidation and just get rid of it altogether. I think there's a lot of realtors that are burned out in the industry. I think there's a lot of lenders burned out in the industry. And just based on those problems, that's why I believe we need some kind of revolution. We need some kind of reigniting of the American dream. And so that's what this conference is all about. That's what we're going to do on April 25th. We are going to light a fire. We're going to light a match on homeownership, and we are going to make it so freaking rad. You should not feel threatened. If you feel threatened, I want you to DM me and say, Chris, your conference is still intimidating. And I'll be like, well, then I'm going to light 5 more pyrotechnic bombs off the stage, or tell me what you think I need to do to make it zero intimidation, way cool, super fun, super exciting. You're there to learn. You're there to get educated, and that's what it's all about. So can you tell I'm a little bit excited? Listen, when I graduated high school, which was like a minute ago, okay, it was when the word rad was rad. But listen, when I graduated high school, I did not know what a credit score was. I did not know how to build a credit score. I didn't even know if I had a credit score. And I took a class. Believe it or not, back in my day and in my age and my generation, we had this class in high school where you learn how to balance a checkbook, and you learn some basic business principles. And the problem with me is I'm just very all over the place. And so to get me to sit still to listen to anything is really hard and difficult to do. So I probably tuned half of it out. But I remember bits and pieces of it. It was just kind of like a really surface level dive and introduction into economics, business, balancing a checkbook. But I don't remember anything about how to develop a FICO score. I never remember a single worksheet or a test on, Chris, did you go out and open this account and start paying on it every month, which will help develop a credit score and a FICO score over the next few months for you. You're going to need this. Nothing like that. I didn't get that at all. And I wasn't raised in a home where we talked about finance around the dinner table. We didn't talk about home ownership, even though my parents owned a home. It just wasn't a subject matter at the dinner table, really. So I came out of high school armed with, guess what? Nothing, zero when it comes to home ownership. or anything of that nature. And if you'd have told me there was a conference coming and there's going to be a band there and they're going to put on a performance and I'm going to learn about FICO scores. I don't even know what a FICO is, but whatever. I got to have one so I can buy a house, so I can build wealth. Yeah, I don't want to be broke. Who wants to be broke? That sucks, right? Nobody. So if you want me to point to one big problem, I think the one big problem is bigger than the media, bigger than the intimidation behind the bank counters, bigger than the negative talk out there, bigger than the interest rates. I think the real problem is nobody is taught any financial literacy at all unless their parents are people who see the importance of that, are good at that, and then pass that down to their kids. That's the only time I see it. And you know what? I think that's where it probably should exist. Honestly, I mean, I think that the family setting is probably the ultimate and number one place that those conversations should take place. But if you got parents who aren't educated on it, it's not going to get passed down at all. And I think that the schools could do a better job teaching some of this stuff. And but I wasn't taught that, so I came out like blind as a bat. If you'd have told me what mortgage is, I would have been like, I didn't even know what the definition. I've never even heard that word before. When I was coming out of high school, I wouldn't know what that was. So, so I think that some of the bigger problems are really some of the bigger problems at the heart of this whole issue is just education, period. And so, you know what? Remember how I was saying that as Americans, we always find some workaround, some way around an issue or a problem. Well, my way around this problem is I'm going to launch a conference, and I am hoping that it becomes a national conference movement, and I'm hoping that it becomes the platform for education when it comes to real estate, homeownership, and personal finance and wealth. That's the nucleus of what we're going to concentrate on at the American Dream Conference this year and going forward into the future. So, so again, if you're interested in buying a ticket, go to mortgagepunklive.com. We just launched the official announcement today. Super excited. Would love to get your thoughts and your ideas on anything we could do to make it even better. And like I said, this is going to be like education on fire. You're going to feel like you went to a classroom and got a rock show at the same time. It's just going to be fun and exhilarating. So I can't wait to go to the American Dream Conference. I just want to show up. I'm going to sit on the front row and eat some popcorn and, I don't know, watch one of the speakers. It's going to be awesome. And one of the artists, which, by the way, I've got another sponsor that I need to take a moment to thank, and that's Joe Warren at Quality Granite. Joe is not only a sponsor of the Mortgage Punk Show, but he's also going to be a sponsor at the conference. And let me tell you what he's going to be giving away first. Joe is going to be giving away a brand new kitchen. So if you've been watching HGTV and watching all these flipper shows, remodel these kitchens and gut them out and put brand new countertops in, paint the cabinets and make it look really sexy and cool, that's what Joe's going to give away at the American Dream Conference, is a brand new kitchen remodel to some homeowner. So I'm excited for it, but it's going to be really cool. I told Joe, I said, Joe, you probably have like the coolest prize at the conference, because who doesn't like to look at cool kitchens? I mean, Daniel's going to give away a roof, and that's like practical, but a kitchen, that's the cool stuff, right? That's like the sexy stuff. So, so today's episode obviously is brought to you by Quality Granite. And if you've ever walked into a kitchen and thought, wow, this feels different, chances are the countertops had something to do with it. Well, Joe and his team specialize in high-quality stone, precise installs, and craftsmanship that instantly upgrades your kitchen space, or really any space in your house, bathrooms, you name it. So whether you're remodeling your home, building new, or flipping an investment property, Quality Granite delivers work that adds real value. When you're ready to level up your space, holler at Joe Warren at Quality Granite. Tell him Chris from the Mortgage Punk Show sent you. And if you want to win his kitchen, buy a ticket to the American Dream Conference and show up April 25th. All right, back to the episode here. So listen, the American Dream isn't dead. It's not. And listen, around the Midwest, it is definitely easier to own a home because homes around the Midwest are not so out of control when it comes to prices. Home prices in the Midwest are still somewhat moderate. So I don't think the American Dream is dead. I think it's just been poorly explained. That's the end of it. I don't think the American Dream's dead. I think it's been poorly explained. I think there's a lot of people that could own homes tomorrow. They're too scared and intimidated, and they don't even know where to go for help. Let me tell you about something negative that I went through. So this is my 24th year in mortgage banking, new construction, and development. And me and my wife moved to Denver, Colorado back in around 2004. And we both took a job with a national home builder called Lennar Homes. Lennar is a publicly traded home builder on the stock market. They're a massively huge company all over the country. In fact, they don't build in our market here in Wichita because we're too small. But Dallas, Texas, Denver, Colorado, your other bigger markets, those home builders live in those markets. So we moved there. My wife and I are from Kansas, and we moved to Colorado roughly in 2004 to work for a fantastic home builder. And let me tell you what, it was an incredible job opportunity and experience for me and my wife. We didn't yet have kids. We had our firstborn daughter in Denver, Colorado while we lived there. But we were having the time of our lives. I mean, it was so fun to work for this company. Lennar was like a standout home builder. They did things very uniquely. Maybe that's why I was attracted to them. I don't know. But they were they were awesome to work for. And they were just making money hand over fist because the housing market was just doing this, and this. And just, it was climbing. I didn't know it was going to be climbing to a bubble that was going to pop and suck. But it did. And so it was a blast. But in 2008, I think many of you watching this episode are probably familiar with that year. The housing market imploded. Like, it crashed. And you know what happened? Me and my wife and our newborn daughter lost everything. I oftentimes will hear 2008 mentioned in the media, mentioned by celebrities, mentioned by some artists. I was just listening to an artist that I love the other day who brought it up at a live concert, 2008. And the connotation about that is 2008 shouldn't have happened. 2008 messed up my family. I watched my family go through hardship in 2008. Like, it screwed everything up in our family. Like, when you bring up 2008, there is a significant amount of negativity around that year. And I think that negativity also carries with it, like, looking down on our country, almost like, hey, this is America's fault. Like, we did stupid things, and whether that be from government powers or the private sector or whatever, it's just negative. And you know what? I couldn't agree with you more, because it was not fun to take my family through a total loss. Like, we didn't lose our health and we didn't lose any of our family members. So I had a lot to be grateful for. But materialistically and financially, we were devastated, leveled, and lost it all. Listen, I was working for a home builder. And when those home builders' stocks imploded, like, guess what happened to my income? I didn't just lose like 30% of my income and could still make, bill payments and things like that. I didn't lose that. I didn't even lose 50%. In fact, I had built our budget to withstand a 50% blow to my income and still have the means to pay our bills and stay afloat and weather a storm. And when 2008 hit, it wasn't just a storm. It was like a massive, gigantic, like, earth-shattering hurricane. And it financially, it totally ruined us. And so that's what drove us to move back to Kansas. So guess what? Guess what I think about 2008? 2008 was one of the worst and best years in my career, because the devastation that we experienced and the financial loss that we experienced in 2008 created a brand new opportunity. And not only am I back in real estate, not only am I back in banking, but like our net worth is significantly, you can't even compare the net worth we've been able to build over the last, 15 years or so since that event happened. My income is, I don't know, 4 times, 5 times. And I was making the most money I ever made in my career back then. It's even more today. So thankfully, we recovered from the loss. It took a minute. We learned lots of things. We grew through this whole thing. And now we're in better shape financially than we've ever been. And the comparison between now and then is night and day. So like, that's what I want to encourage you with. That's why I want you to get excited about reigniting the American dream with me and getting excited about going to a conference where we're going to light this thing up, because we as Americans overcome hard stuff. Like, that's what we do. That's the best thing about it, is we don't let things bury us. We don't give up. We're entrepreneurs. We are pilgrims. We are pioneers. Like, that's the kind of people we are. And that's what I want you to get excited about. That's the hope that I want to give you during this episode is, yup, interest rates are high. Yup, there are markets in America that have some housing price problems. Yup, homeownership and affordability is a problem. There are problems, but you can't be buried by these problems. You got to find a way to work through it. I didn't know how I was going to work through recovering from all that. I just went back to work. I went back to work and I worked hard. And I got my nose back to the grind, and I just, you know what? We start from ground zero, rebuild. So I want you to be encouraged by this episode. And I want you to join me. And I want you to believe that the American dream isn't dead and that it's just been poorly explained. And even if you've gone through something financially catastrophic, guess what? There's hope, because you can rebuild. You can rebuild in the aftermath of it. You can let it leverage you forward, or you can let it eat you alive. And I would encourage you to let it leverage you forward and become a beauty from ashes type story. So at the end of the day, I'm excited about this conference, and I need your help. I need your help because I think you're going to get well educated. I think you're going to grow. I think there's going to be a lot of people that become homeowners that were never homeowners before, didn't even believe it was possible. They're going to come. They're going to get educated. They're going to be empowered. They're going to go out there and make those dreams a reality. So I want you to join me. And again, I'm not just building a conference here at the end of the day. The goal is to start a movement out of this and bring hope back to a lot of Americans and make a lot of Americans wealthy, make a lot of Americans homeowners, help a lot of Americans overcome some obstacles, help a lot of Americans overcome just this list of things that I've named, the higher interest rates. Is there a workaround? I think people are going to come to this conference and they're going to start buying rental properties. And they're going to have more wealth than anyone in their generation ever had. That's going to happen. I mean, that's cool stuff to be looking forward to, right? So I want you to join me. Again, if you want to get out and buy a ticket, you'll want to go to mortgagepunklive.com. Tickets are available for pre-sale. I've got Jalen Johnson. He almost won The Voice last year. He was number 2. Jalen's going to be there performing. Look, we're going to light up April 25th in Wichita, Kansas. Okay, so listen, who is this conference for? It is for first-time home buyers. It is for move-up buyers. It is for move-down buyers. It's for real estate investors. Or if you just work a regular job and you want to own 1 or 2 rentals in your lifetime, you would be an investor, so you would count. It's for realtors. It's for industry professionals, and it's for employers who want their employees owning houses. And listen to this. Do you know it is a statistical fact that home ownership drives employee retention better than anything? You know why? Because when you're on the hook for a mortgage payment, you're less likely to leave your job because you're on the hook. You're going to take better care of your house. That's going to keep your neighborhood values strong because you're taking good care of it, and you're going to work really hard at your job, and your employer is going to love you. So employers, be reminded, home ownership creates employee retention. And take great care of your employees. Help them get to this conference and gain value just through your invitation. So this is for employers as well. So at the end of the day, if you are in the game of real estate, residential housing, not commercial real estate, not retail buildings and, Sam's Club buildings and big stuff like that. This is for home owners. This is for everyone that touches residential housing. If you believe with me that the American dream still matters, if you believe homeownership changes families and lives, and if you believe wealth should be accessible to everyday ordinary people, then this conference is for you. April 25th at the Hyatt downtown Wichita. Go to mortgagepunklive.com, buy a ticket, DM us there if you've got questions, or just go to Mortgage Punk, and you can DM me or my team on any one of those platforms. So it's about all I got for today. Once again, just want to thank Joe Warren at Quality Granite and Daniel Keeley at Keeley Roofing. You guys are going to give away some big prizes. Listen, there's 5 big prizes. That's just 2 that I've named on this episode. If you total up the 5 prizes together, it's over $75,000 in home ownership prizes that we're giving away on Saturday, April 25th at the American Dream Conference. So please be there. Tell all your friends, all your family. Help us sell it out. It's going to be a rock show. That's it. That wraps up this episode of the Mortgage Punk Show. I appreciate you watching. Can't wait to see you April 25th at the Hyatt. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris with Mortgage Punk. Peace out.